Hi, I'm Freddie, and today I wanted to show you all my latest map and talk a little bit about my process. This is another entry in my Tharr worldbuilding project, depicting a time of crisis at the start of the Second Age. Recently I have been learning a lot about the Bronze Age collapse, which is an incredibly interesting time and just generally really cool, and I wanted an equivalent of that for my world, so I thought it would be a good setup point for the later triumph of the Kingdom of Tharr and provide explanations behind the movements of people and also the collapse of other civilizations and kingdoms. This map of the Bronze Age collapse in particular was especially inspiring, and I wanted to capture the main features of it, but for my own setting. Now luckily I had a hillshade effect base layer that I could use, and I showed you all how to also generate that kind of effect in my last video, so I was all ready to dive in and have a go at making one for myself. Now, as you can see from my scrabbly notebook, I had come up with some ideas for the main kingdoms I wanted to be depicted, as well as the main cause of this collapse. So I had an idea that there was going to be a Gnomish counterattack, because in one of my last map of Tarmo's Crusades, I established that the gnomes were pushed back into the hills, so what would happen if they came back? I started this map, like all of my other Tharr maps, by tracing the coastline of my sort of master map. I made the master map a long time ago, actually, probably a few years ago. So traced the coastline of that, and I started tracing the rivers as well from my map plates. I didn't worry about making sure the rivers were 100% accurate, because I may as well have just copy and pasted it. But I wanted to at least, have the same, general direction and flow of each river to be the same as, they canonically, I guess, were in my project. There were quite a lot of rivers to do, but that was fine. I've also spent quite a while making sure that all of the nodes were just right. Took me some time, but I enjoy doing that. I also imported the cities I wanted and just had a go at depicting the territories. So in the orange is the Sun Coast, and here in the blue are the South Etonian states. And I also found a flame on Wikipedia that I wanted to use for the sacked cities by the moving peoples, and I also found cross swords for battles. And the green are other Valdic cities. In my Valdic diaspora map, I showed that they were all across this region, so I wanted to show an intermediate time. It's quite a lot of fun placing down all of the ruined cities and all of the battle sites. It was also challenging to make sure I knew what cities would be there at this point and what they were called, because some of them had different names, some of them were under different peoples. And here it was the fun part, was drawing in all the lines for the movement of people. So there were quite a few that I included, from the Bon, Hatals, Dulcinites, and also the South Gnomes and where they invaded. And here's when I had to also include some new places, make some places up. That sounds weird. This is all made up, but I mean create new locations, especially those ones in the south, the Dulcinite places, and the locations in the Sun Coast. So the Sun Coast were inspired by the Dalmatian language, which is now extinct. And the Dulcinite places, they're more inspired by the Hittites, in keeping with the whole Bronze Age collapse theme. I also wanted there to be lots of sea travel. I thought it was kind of interesting, a parallel towards the sea peoples in the Bronze Age collapse. But like theories behind the Bronze Age collapse, I wanted all of these movements in Karogar, which is the region to the south, to be motivated by the oncoming onslaught of gnomes, which is a a neat idea to me, at least. I apologise for it being quite erratic at this point, but I was just putting in colours for all of the migration and invasion lines, so it wasn't just too boring and uniform. And I also gave each line a drop shadow, so it had more of a physical impact on the map itself. The title box is always something you have to make sure you get right, at least to your own taste. I was pretty happy with this one. It's quite simplistic, but I like simplistic. And I wanted to make sure that all of the invasion and migrations were just color-coded. Similar to that map that I was inspired by, but also because I think aesthetically it could look quite nice, and it wouldn't have too much text going everywhere. And now for a crucial part of a map, which I don't always put in, and that's the scale. I recommend you always put it in for any kind of map, fictional or otherwise, as if it's a completely fictional world, it really adds to the tangibility or the quote-unquote realism of your setting. So that was my process and thinking behind making this map. I hope you all enjoyed it and enjoyed the time-lapse. I think I'll be recording my progress, making maps more often in the future, since I think it's pretty interesting to see it, all sped up. Again, hope you enjoyed and have a great rest of your day. See ya!